Hey everyone, welcome to the Wrangler VFX tutorial series. Today I'll be walking you through getting started with Wrangler. There's a lot to get through, so let's get started. We'll start at the top menu bar for the home page. You've got the info button, which you can see your current version. You've got your account button, which you can use to sign out and see your account details, your plan details. We've got our light mode button here, which is just switches from light mode to dark mode. You've got some default project settings. So when you create a new project, these will be your defaults. You can always change them per project in the project settings. We've got our cloud button here. This is where you'll sync your cloud projects that are already uploaded. So you can download them from this button or delete them. Next up, we got the backups browser. So this will help you with organizing your backups, seeing how many you have, and restoring them if you need to. The restore will just create a duplicate. It'll never overwrite. Next up, we have the migrate tool. This is if you're coming from a different database, satellite, or FileMaker, or otherwise. You can easily import your CSV and references, creating a new project within Wrangler that'll have all your data. Now we have the import button, which will help you import any exported Wrangler project from Wrangler. So if you see, we can select a project, click export, and that'll give us a .wrangler file that we can share to different Wranglers, or you can just use them as extra backups if you want. So let's get started with creating our first project here. I'll just name this tutorial, and you've got some options here that you can select. You can always change these in the project settings. They're not locked in, so no worries there. You can add a cover photo if you like, and then we'll create the project. This is your main project screen. You'll see lots of options here, which can be overwhelming at first, but we'll dive in one by one. We'll start with the gear library. This is where you're going to build your show's gear set. So cameras, lenses, grip rigs, all that stuff. Cameras and lenses you're going to kind of add on your own, but we do have some presets available. So you can add a singular camera. We'll just choose the RA Alexa here. You can enter your serial number, set which letter the camera is for, select your film back, and default ISO and shutter if you'd like that. Basically, the defaults are just going to help autofill things when you select that camera in the Slate page. They're not locked in or anything, so you can always change it. Another way to add is adding multiple. So we have the list of presets here, and you can kind of just add them one by one. They auto increment next camera letters, but you can, if you need to change them, you can just click on them and change them. So we'll click here, we can add the serial number now and change the letter if we want. My personal favorite way to add gear is the import option. So you can build a CSV with all your gear. Each Wrangler project ships with these templates. So if we go to Wrangler and we'll just pick one of these projects, and we'll go to templates. And these template files just ship with every project. So you can always have them on hand. Just quick look at them. They come with info already added in, but you can just wipe that and add your own info. Kind of just shows you where the headers are supposed to be. As long as you have those headers, you'll be able to import. So you can kind of build the CSV custom if you'd like. And then it'll show you this import, which you can verify what you're importing and then import them. You can also select things out of that list if you don't want it all. If you got some lenses or camera gear from a previous show, you're importing them via CSV, you can kind of just pick and select what you want. Switching over to the lenses, we kind of got the same deal going on. You can add a single or multiple. Got another great list of presets here if they happen to fit with whatever gear you're using. We're constantly growing that, so if you have ones that you'd like to see added, you can just hit us up and let us know the kit you want, and we'll get that added in the next version. Adding multiple lenses at a time, you'll see the camera selector, so you can kind of choose which camera letter you want to add those lenses for, and just tap and it'll add a new lens. You can just click on them and edit the serial number later. So this is a quick build. If you're doing lens grids and you see all the lens kits, you can just quickly tap them and then add the serial numbers later as you go. So since we're on the topic, we'll head over to the lens grid section. This is basically a reduced version of the Slate page to track your lens grids separately. And I'll show you something cool after that. You can also add lenses directly from the lens grid page, which some people find useful. You can select from presets here or just add your own. The presets basically just autofill the lens name there and the focal length and the lens type. So we'll just add a lens like that. And we've got a slate created for that. So if we go to the gear library now, we go to lenses, you can see that our lens grid tracker is working. We has lens grids, the little check marks there. That's how you can kind of keep track of all the lens grids you got in case you add lenses later on in the project, which often happens. You make sure you got everything that you need gridded. So grip rigs, heads, filters, and witness cams, these are a bit more straightforward. We can create custom ones. You can create a custom category too. So if you don't find a category you like in our list, I'll just, create Moco and we can create that. And that's our new category. Can do the same thing with heads. We got all these presets in here, but if you have one that isn't in there, you can just add the custom. Same thing with filters. Just add a bunch here. Witness cams, we've got some presets here, or you can create your custom one. We've also got the add multiple here, a bit easier if you got a lot of them. So now we'll save our current library. This will basically be a snapshot of all the gear we just created. You can drop down the menu to see what you did create, and I'll show you how we can share between projects. So we'll go to the demo project here. We'll go save this library. Then we'll go back to our tutorial project. Now we can apply this preset. So there's two ways you can do it. You can add to current, which will just add it on top, or you can replace. Replacing requires you to type delete just to confirm, so no accidental wiping of the gear, as that could be catastrophic. And that basically sums up the gear library. So next we'll head over to the presets tab, which is basically the gear library, but for all the other fields in the Slate page, like characters, script locations, all that sort of stuff. So we'll head in here. We got all the headings we have up here. Basically every field that's in the main Slate info page, you can create a preset for. So rather than typing that in every time, especially if you have, recurring characters, recurring set media, that's all, it ships with some presets, but if you have something that you want to change, you can delete them, add them, do anything you want. And of course, we can import presets from a CSV that we've created. So it'll show you this little verification section where you can verify everything that you've entered, and then you can cancel or import. We'll just cancel that since we already have those. Really quickly, before we get into the Slate creation, we'll just check out the layouts section. So at the top, you'll see you have 4 layouts and a little edit button. From here, you can edit your layout, or you can just click these other section cards and they'll auto scroll you to those sections rather than having to manual scroll. So if we click edit layout, you'll see we can swap things around and we can hide things. You can also hide individual fields, specifically within the camera, live data, and the Slate field sections, and kind of just build these layouts how you want. It ships with 4 default ones, but they can be renamed and customized however you wish. So now we'll get started with our first slate. So you'll click the slates page and we'll add our first slate. At the top, you'll see a reference pin that you can click. This creates basically a badge that is persistent on the screen while you scroll. So you can always have your reference picture up, what shoot day you're on, some basic information about the slate. So clicking our first field, you can already see that we have our presets there, and we'll add a new shoot day. When you choose a shoot day you haven't yet selected, it'll ask you for a crew call start time. This will help with the DTR autofills and the VFX timing calculations. We'll just keep going here, add some scene. We've got our presets for episodes over there, or you can just type them in yourself. We'll select a preset. You'll notice on the panel we have this auto close button. So when you click enter or apply on any field, it'll automatically close the panel. However, if you'd rather go next and hit each one quickly, you can tap that so it doesn't auto close, and then you can click next in previous, or tap the field you want without breaking the UI too much. So it's nice and quick flow if you're adding everything one at a time. It's very useful for that. You can always create custom ones as you go. So as you can see, I didn't add a set location. So I'll just add Studio A here, and then that'll show up in our recently used. So on top of presets, you'll also have a recently used section that you can choose from, and that will grow as you continue using it. We have a limiter so it doesn't get too out of control, and it also shows up below your presets so it doesn't bloat the screen too much. Next up on the Slate page, we have HDRi captures, and basically what this is a file name calculator. The way it works is you'll add a capture, you'll set your prefix. For me, I like to set mine on my camera to HDR if I'm doing HDRIs. I need to find the last clip that was used on my SD card. So currently my SD card is at 52, for instance. So I'll set it to 53. I'll set how many brackets I'm taking, how many angles, so it correctly calculates how many photos it's going to be, and set a little tracker name for that. So now if we go back out of the Slate page and we go to the stills log, this is basically a big overview page of all the reference photos you've had for a Slate. So you can, if you're organizing in Lightroom, you can quickly go through this. You can filter them to find specifically what you need, what shoot day, etc. But basically it'll work side by side with Lightroom. So you look at the file name range, you know exactly what HDR that is, and you can just, rather than looking at the photos or thumbnails, you can quickly select those files and create your folder or however you like to organize them. So moving on to the camera section, we've got our camera model and letter, you'll notice, are already auto-filled. They auto-fill with the first available camera model and letter, as you'll usually only have one camera model per letter unless it gets replaced. So we can pick from our list of lenses as we just saw there. You can pick from any of the packages, so you're not married to your camera letter specifically. And then we can keep adding more information here. Some of these are multi-select, some of them aren't. It just kind of depends on what it is. Like filters are multi-select, but you're only going to have one head, for example. So it just kind of depends on what field you're entering into. You may have noticed already that we have custom keypads for some of these unique fields like temperature, ISO, things like that. So we just kind of narrowed down the keypad so it's specific to that field. Makes it a lot easier rather than having to pull up the Apple keyboard or having a universal keyboard that has all these things on it. Just found it nice and easy to, you're going to add 4300K, you've got all the numerics there you need, and then the Kelvin button. So that just kind of narrows things down, makes it easier to input all your data. Now that we've filled out our ACAM info, we can create a new camera. You can do this a couple of ways. You can copy the camera, which will copy all of the extra data if you have the same grip and head being used. It's very useful. You may notice the camera outline is now blue as well. So this kind of changes with each camera, so it's easier to keep visual track of which camera you're entering the data into. This feature can be disabled in the project settings if you don't like it. We also have the live data fields are color coded as well. That can also be disabled in the project settings. Moving on to our live data section. This is where you'll enter your per take measurements, height, distances, tilt, Dutch, all that sort of stuff, t-stop as well. These are in ranges, so you have a start and an end range. Next, we'll touch on our laser integration. So if you have a Bluetooth capable laser, you can click that Connect Laser button in the live data section. Select your laser, select the measurement units. Now you're connected. You can see the green buttons have changed, and now they're highlighted green when you tap them, and you'll see they automatically input your selected measurement. I find this especially useful when you need measurements fast and you can't really put both hands on the iPad yet. This is a good time to use that laser measurement tool. Now that we've got our data entered, we can kind of test out the VFX timings. So if you click Mark Roll, that'll select your shoot start. And then we can click Mark Cut, and that'll be shoot end. The times can also be changed manually, or you can tap the Now button to select the current time. Moving on to references, you'll see the Add Photo, Camera, and Notepad buttons. So we can add a few photos here. We can tap on them to annotate them. You can also flip between them like the film strip at the bottom. So here we'll annotate that, save that. We'll just flip to the last one here. You can tap the film strips individually. You can also swipe between them or just tap the forward or back arrows. You'll get kind of a different animation depending on what you press there. The notepad button I didn't really demonstrate in the recording. However, it's very self-explanatory. You just click the notepad and it creates a black solid that you can then draw or write on with your finger. If you use the Apple Pencil, it's very useful to just have those quick notes, especially if you like writing them physically. Next, we'll move on to reference photos. This is very similar to the HDRi, very same concept. Also goes into the stills log, so they kind of live together, and we'll show you that after. So say, I'm taking some texture photos. I'm going to take 18 of them, or I took 18 of them. This is where the clip started. These are wall textures. We'll add that. And we can go back to our stills log, and we see that it's updated with both our witness cams and the reference photos. Next, we'll touch on the different ways you can create a slate. So you can just by default create with the plus button. This will auto increment your slate using the last selected slate. So if I add from V41, it'll go to V41A. If I had selected V36, it would go V36A. So we'll just delete that. You can also copy. You can copy with the take data or without. So without, you'll see that the take data is nice and clean, but we have our camera data in case we want that. Or we can copy with the live takes, take all that data with us. Next, we'll check out the Slate browser. You'll see that at your top right-hand corner. And this is a visual slate slider, basically. It's kind of like that top bar, but you've got the references there if you remember the slate visually rather than by the data. You've got filter options here. You've got the expanded view, which we just saw, kind of gives you some more information and a bigger reference. This filter will grow as you add more things. So you'll notice if you have a new project, it doesn't have anything in there, it doesn't have much. This will just be everything you add will populate this filter. Now you can select a filter, it'll show you those slates, hit the clear button, you're all good to go. This filter is also available on the slate bar itself. So we can sort the slates by creation date or alphabetically. And then just to the left of that, you can select the filter button, filter the slates. We got the same clear UI that you see in the Slate browser. Nice and easy to understand. Another way to browse is by references. So if you go to the home page and you click on the references in the top left, you'll see all your references here. You can tap Go to Slate and it'll take you to the Slate page. You can also in the top right go View in Files, and this will show you your references folder for that project. And you can easily just compress this big folder and have all your references already organized by Slate, ready to go to be delivered to anybody they need to go to. Moving on to our collaboration features, we'll start with the Cloud Sync. So you'll see the big Cloud Sync button at the bottom there. If it's your first time uploading that project, you'll see the Upload UI. So we can pick our server and click Upload, and then we'll see that populate the cloud projects in our homepage. So we see tutorial up there. That's the one I just uploaded. You can delete it from here as well. Now we'll try this on a project we already have on the cloud. So we can hit that same Cloud Sync button. It'll show us a different UI. This shows the duplicates that are automatically skipped. It looks like we have one slate from the cloud that is not on our Slate page, so we'll download that. This manual sync is very useful for multi-Wrangler workflows. So you have two Wranglers that are on different sets, different iPads. They're each going to be creating their own slates. You'll start out with a base project. So we'll just delete some slates and add some slates. And you'll see how our UI has changed. Now we have downloads and uploads, and some local changes. That's if a slate was edited. And then we can upload all those changes and download the changes from the other Wrangler. Now we'll quickly touch on the UI scaling that we have. So we have small, medium, and large. This is very useful if you're in cold environment. I like large. If you have some gloves on, it makes those fields a lot easier to hit, a lot taller. There's also Shotgrid integration. We'll show deeper later in a different video how this works or how you can set it up. But just a quick demonstration. You connect to your custom entity. It will auto-create all the fields that you need, so you don't need to do anything in Shotgrid other than set up the script, and then you're good to go. Moving over to our export options, this is how you can export your Slate data. So we've got CSV, VS, CSV, PDF, and a PDF Plus. They differ in that PDF will just have one take per page, and PDF Plus will have multiple takes. A bit more condensed. I prefer that one myself, but personal preference. Next, we'll move on to our team management. So this is very useful for the DTR and some of the autofill email features for like DTR reports, VFX reports, things that have to go to production at the end of the day. So you can add in those recipients by email here. And you can also add your team in. So we'll demonstrate how this is useful. If we go to reports, go to DTR, we'll select an episode for this day, select a unit, we'll add a team member, and you can see it autofills their start, lunch, and wrap times. VFX were often just 12-hour flats. So you can just kind of keep it the same. Unless they want specifics, you can edit them. And then on the top right, we can save these as a CSV or a PDF, or we can just email it, and that'll go to our 3 recipients. It'll autofill the body and the subject, so it's really just a one-click email button. That wraps up episode 1 of our tutorial series. We'll go into more in-depth videos, Shotgrid setup, things like that in future episodes, so keep a lookout for those. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.